How are you doing? Hi. Okay, before we kickstart, I would like you to shake your next door neighbor hands just to welcome them.
Hey,
welcome. So find out who they are.
Nice to meet you.
At the back. You know,
Hey, good day.
You can give them a hug.
Nice to meet you.
Big hug.
What you eat my advice? Dude, it's more like for my protection than yours.
Okay. Great. That's great. So now you know everyone now, yeah? Great. So my name is Casey, and tonight, as you know, is a PechaKucha night. And yeah, we're gonna have a PechaKucha night. So as you know, the Wi-Fi is working, as far as I know. So you can get on it, you can start tweeting, you can leave an opinion, you can ask questions. You're more than welcome to do that. And we're gonna upload the slide tonight, and also we'll put some video up at the end of the week as well, so that you can share around among your alumni, and ultimately to make our alumni a little bit strong. Okay? So, to kick it off, what's PechaKucha? It was originally from Japan. Basically, it's really simple. It's good for creative industry. They just have 20 images, and they have only 20 seconds for each image. So everything is sharp, quick, and condensed. And we got quite a few meetings around the country in UK as well. And that's what I mean in Wikipedia. Basically, it means chit chat. So tonight, you're gonna have a lot of chit chatting among you guys. And we're going to have a break after 4 presentations, so that you can always network amongst your peers. And it was around the world, actually. As you can see, you know, they have event in Russia, they have event in Brazil, in actually 600 cities. So it was not a new format, but it's quite a popular format to spread ideas. And tonight you're going to hear 9 different ideas. So the rule is very simple, yeah? It's a bit like Fight Club. You talk, someone talk, you chat in the middles during the break. We're going to have 4 more talks after the break, and then we will go to the pub afterward at 8:30. If everything go on time. It's just right next door as well, so you know, you're more than welcome to join us. And to talk about the event tonight, we got someone talk about social media. We got someone talk about experience on photography. We got someone talk about some social stuff. Very deep, very long title. And we also have people talk about little helpers. We have a gentleman talk about youth and politician. We got another one talk about language, and another one talk about natural carbon emission. And finally, we got a new business that about to launch, and this gentleman is about to come here to talk about his thing. So keep tweeting, keep taking pictures. We need your opinion, we need your question. You can just put it #WarwickAL, or you can just follow Twitter account, Facebook, or LinkedIn groups, so that you have more information afterward. And personally, I felt that we should have a stronger voice in Warwick, because everyone have their ideas. We need to amp it up. I think everyone been to a good school, everyone should have something to pick up from the university, and it will be a good platform from here that we can all learn from each other, and most importantly, you can build some very useful network. So tonight, hopefully it's your light bulb moment, okay? If you can take away one idea from tonight, I think that would be a very good night. And hopefully, you can know some very interesting people as well. So, I'm going to spend 10 slides just to talk about some of the stuff I want to talk about. It's about thought leaders. And because at the moment, social media is a big thing, and there's a lot of B2B professional people quite nervous about what they should approach on, how much effort they should do, you know. And I think one of the common answers that I know from all the professional personnel, particularly lawyer and accountant, is that I don't know what to do. There's too much to lose, you know. I got the whole reputation to risk up on. So relatively speaking, to B2C, there's a lack of activities at the moment, and this is the only graph that I would say is boring, but it's quite useful. Basically, it's from Forrester. Basically, what they say is that you can spend least amount of time on being a thought leader, and then you can get the maximum impact on either from buyer, from lead, and so on. So what to start first? Blogging also equal to microblogging, which is Twitters, and also there's some really good social network like Yammer, Chatterbox, Chatter from Salesforce that encourage professional people to join up together to share ideas. And once you have some blog, then you can write some book. Or maybe Samantha can talk about a bit later on, you can publish some white paper to let people know your expertise on particularly, let's say you're an accountant, if you're a lawyer or surveyor, and it's a good way to generate content. And once you have some content, you can start speak out. Tonight is a good event. We will hear some other people, particularly from our alumni, talk about experience. And I think being a speaker is a very interesting experience, particularly for door-to-door professional. So it's all about the timing. One of my experiences is that we got an accountant, which is one of our clients. He actually prepared some article for the tax deadline, and published that on the right moment. They got the highest amount of response. So that is a good case study from him. So at the end of the day, it's about bottom line. If you don't make money or you don't get as much ROI, then all this is nonsense. So if your competitors are doing that at the moment, then you can't let your competitor get away. So it's time to think about maybe you can spend 1 minute every day doing some content and try to be the influencer and try to be a leader in your field, in your professional thing. And we got some interesting score at the moment, some cloud all about influencer score. So it's a very short one, just to talk about who I am. And my name is Casey, and as I say, keep calm and channel on. And we got some fantastic speaker at the moment. So anyway, that's my Twitter, so you can follow me. And we can talk about it during the break as well, if we want to know a little bit more about what I do. Okay? Okay. So I'm gonna. So we have Samantha. I met Samantha a few months ago in a city library, and it's a very interesting, engaging session, and she told me a lot about social media. So would you like to welcome Samantha? From, yeah, when you're ready. Yes.
Okay, normally my presentations are 2 hours long, so this is going to be a challenge. Bear with me. I'm going to try and squeeze in as much as possible without killing you guys. Okay, so what is social media? The first thing about social media that's important to know is that it's about people, essentially. The first word is social, the last word is media. So it's less about the technology and more about the people that you connect with. McKinsey said it very well. They said social media is a form of marketing that has to be earned rather than advertising, which can be purchased. So you've all seen the ladies brushing their teeth, saying that it's the best toothpaste. We know that they are paid to say that. Social media is also about building relationships. So as I was saying to someone earlier, don't discount the tweets about the coffee or the food or the person's dog. That's how you build a relationship with someone, is when you really get to know them. Because suddenly you say, I'm a dog person too, you're a cat person, I'm a dog person, and you build a relationship with people. And then you start to build a community around you. So it's a tribe, essentially. It's a community of people who are similar to you. And at the end of the day, people buy people. They don't buy products and services. Once you build that relationship, they're more likely to buy from you. And that's an old-fashioned thing, put into social media, because the first word is the social side. But then what happens is you start to get information overload. Like Casey said, you start to feel overwhelmed, you're signed up to everything, your web designer said you should be on this, you should be on that, you should be on that. And the first place to start, really, once you start to get that information overload, when the slide clicks over. So I'm running a bit ahead of myself, I'm talking too fast. The first thing you need to do is search for yourself on Google. That's how you find out where you are represented. I did that last night just for fun, realised I'm too Googleable and I should probably change my name. But search for yourself first, find out where have you got a presence. Is that presence making a difference to your bottom line, to your business? Is it meeting your business goals and your business objectives? And if it's not, start closing those platforms down. There's no reason you need to be on everything. You can more succinctly build your personal brand by selecting 1, 2, maximum 3 networks and raising your profile on that, people by people. So social media is about the person that you are behind the business. When you tweet somebody on Twitter, you're talking to a person, you're not talking to the company. There's a physical person sitting there tweeting. And it's also about then building your professional brand. So you've got things like LinkedIn and stuff like that. So once you've built that personal relationship, then people start to say to you, what do you do? And then that's when you start to build up your company or your professional brand. If you're looking for a job, that's when you start talking about what you do. The first part is who are you? And the second part is what do you do? There's obviously a sliding scale between professional versus intimate. So you might want to share pictures of your kids. But there's a sliding scale of professional where it's all about what you do. And then the who you are is the intimate. It's kind of meeting in the middle, so it's talking about going out, going on holiday. We all go on holiday, we all eat food, we all do things like that. So it's blending professional with a little bit of personality. LinkedIn is obviously the professional network. It's getting a little bit more personal now. Some things that you should be doing is optimizing your profile. So in your headline, it shouldn't just say, I'm an accountant, because that's boring. It should say, what is it that you actually do for people, updating on a regular basis and building your community through LinkedIn. On Twitter, it's very much about targeting the right kind of people, so you can follow complementary people, follow people who do something similar to you do, build relationships with them so that they then retweet you, share your content, pass you on to other people who might be relevant to what you do. And then the last one is Facebook, which is a little bit more personal, but you can friend people. I friend anyone who friends me on Facebook. It's my family and friends are there, but I friend anyone else because it's a great place to build up the personality of your business. On LinkedIn, we're personality, but slightly more professional. Facebook is about the personal and the personality behind the business. So you get to know me, you get to know my mum very well, and you get to know me as a person and people by people. The mistake that people make is that they don't start with a strategy. So they don't sit down, they throw themselves onto social media. You would never kind of throw yourself into marketing or business. Some people do, but you need to start with a strategy. Who is your audience? Which platforms are they using is a good place to start. So writing a set strategy, it can be 1 page, it doesn't have to be very long. You need some goals. So what are you actually trying to achieve? If you're not meeting your bottom line, you're running a hobby, basically. So your goals need to match your business objectives, and then you need to have social media objectives, and you need to be measuring those on a regular basis as well. The only way to achieve social media success is to have goals, otherwise how do you know that you're successful or not? The other thing as well is understanding the etiquette of the platform. There's very few things that you can actually do wrong, but when you do them wrong, like the big brands do, it's everywhere, all over the papers and things like that. So if you're not sure, just get involved, start messaging people, understand how do people talk to each other. You can't go in guns blazing and say, I sell this service, I sell that service. You need to build the relationships slowly. Good relationships take time. And once you've started doing that, you need to have a measurement. A lot of people don't measure what they do. So they say, I'm not successful on social media. And then I'm like, well, do you measure your growth, your organic growth, the numbers? Are they going up slowly? Are you actually making any money? Are you networking with people who could bring you in something that helps your bottom line? The other thing to do as well is to keep an eye on trends. What's hip and happening in social media. The best way to do that is go to Google and type in trends in social media 2013, and you will have all the thought leaders telling you what they think the trends are, right? We all have to do it in our industry. But keep an eye on what's happening in, what's changing. Facebook changes as often as Mark Zuckerberg sneezes, right? So you need to keep an eye on what's happening. Social media is very much about speaking to people, not broadcasting. Advertising is broadcasting. You don't have a choice when you see an advert, but you have the choice when you follow someone or when you speak to someone. The power is in the hands of the consumer to make that choice as well. So it's not about selling your services, it's about building that relationship with people. It's very much human versus technology. I'm a very old-fashioned girl. I like notepads, I love meeting people, I love shaking people's hands, chatting to them. The technology is secondary. If you spend too much time on the technology, when a new social network comes along, you're not going to understand what you're doing. But if you build the human element, the relationship side, when a new platform comes along, it won't matter because you'll understand how to transfer those relationships. It's networking versus not working as well. A lot of people are not working on social media. Facebook, anyone? The big time suck of the century? Make sure that you fulfill your objectives first, so you're networking, and then the not working can follow after that. Then you can spend 3 hours not doing anything, as long as you've achieved your goals and objectives of that. And then, actually, there is one more slide.
Ah.
Oh, geez.
Dun, dun, dun. Is it gone?
Yeah.
Wah, wah, wah.
Well,
The last
we can
slide.
send it to you. You can contact Samantha,
Yeah.
by Twitter or
Yeah.
email.
Is it a 21st slide?
It was actually 20 slides. The first one was just the picture of the cupcakes. But just very quickly, the last slide was URL versus IRL. And the URL is your website, but IRL is in real life, and that's what social media is all about. I thank you.
Apologize. We got Samar. Daytime, he's an analyst, but in his hobby time, he also takes some fantastic photography. And tonight, he's going to share around some of his very good photos, and hopefully you will enjoy the photo as much as I am. Okay. So just wait right to start. Right. So after that, let's see. After I'll say that. Just slide two. Yeah, 20 seconds. Alright. Are you ready?
Hi, I'm Samar Khanna. I'm a financial analyst by day and a photographer by night / holidays and weekends. And today I want to talk to you about my works and take you through my portfolio while giving you a perspective of how I view photography and perhaps through that motivate some of you to maybe start your own ventures down the line. Through my journeys as a photographer, this quote, I think, embodies it really well, where Lichtenstein says that there's some underlying difficult to grasp principle about art which makes something really aesthetically pleasing and something else which is pretty worthless. And he was very interesting in finding out what this underlying principle is. And I think over the past 4 years, even I have done something similar. I started clicking in Warwick actually 4 years ago, and I built my portfolio from there. This is one of the pictures I clicked. This is one of the first pictures I clicked with no expertise at all, and still, I think it came out pretty well. Just to go ahead and show that what is aesthetically pleasing and what is really not aesthetically pleasing. If I tell you I took a picture of shoes, you'd think that that doesn't really look good or that doesn't really fit well. But for me, I think it still works. So again, you go back and keep asking yourself, what's that underlying principle which makes things aesthetic? And in the process of discovering this, you become a better artist. Photography for me is two very simple things. The first is how you train your eyes to see. That's isolating moments in everyday life where you're looking at textures, patterns, lighting. The other one is capture exactly what you see, which is the technical expertise that you build with your f-stops and things like that. To deliberate on my first point, this is training what you see in everyday life. Millions of people click the Big Ben, but a picture like this could make you stop and think for a second and sort of bring things into perspective. The next image is a very simple framing, but something which requires a bit more knowledge about photography. So for me, images are usually a combination of both, where you're constantly isolating events, but you don't really need a camera for that. That's something you're training your eye to do at every single point. Moving on, I want to take you through some of my photos that I clicked while building my portfolio in India. This is the Jama Mosque in the old part of Delhi. The majestic structure, while I clicked this, echoed with hymns of the evening prayer while the birds fled from the minarets. I think startled a bit, but it really evokes that emotion in you. India as a country is teeming with colors, chaos and charisma, and for a street photographer like me, that's a very, very interesting subject. Pictures of the Ganesha, if you look at the top right, that's a picture of henna or mehendi. I also really like clicking portraits of people, and while on my trips to India, I clicked these three very interesting individuals. A Buddhist monk, a priest's son in a temple in Rajasthan, and this little girl from the Balti people on the India and Pakistan border. which got featured in the photographer's gallery. So it's really interesting to connect with people through photography. These are some more portraits I clicked. People in India are very, very friendly. If you approach someone and ask them whether if you can click their picture, they will oblige without batting an eyelid. In fact, want to see the picture and will get very, very interested and sort of talk to you how you do it. They're very interested in the technology. I also really like playing with lights and silhouettes, and I think these two pictures are juxtaposed really well, where that's a mosque in India on the left-hand side, and that's the India-Pakistan border on the right-hand side. The valley is India, towards the back is Pakistan, and I think it brings out a new meaning whenever you put two pictures together. I also, as a street photographer, I love going to markets, and these are some pictures that I clicked of markets in India. Towards the bottom right is this shopkeeper making pan. It's made of beetroot juice, and if you've not had it, I definitely suggest you have it. You will regret it, but from one market in India to another in London, the borough market was for me easier to click because there wasn't as much commotion. Doesn't mean it wasn't any less interesting, but it was just easier because you could isolate moments much easier as opposed to the hustle and bustle. The food in Borough Market is amazing. I think I must have gained about 2 pounds just to the photo shoot that I went one day. It's actually very interesting that you're not only clicking, but you're also getting involved in what you're clicking with the food and the people, and sort of take back memories of what's going on. This is a picture from Amsterdam, and again, a beautiful city with bold colors, a strong visual appeal through its symmetry juxtaposed with the ease of the water. And as a few more slides on Amsterdam play about, I just want to talk to you about how I feel, what I want to do about my photography in another year or two. I hope I hold an exhibition somewhere, and I've been working towards that. I know it's really tough, especially balancing a job and responsibilities with your hobby. But believe me, it is absolutely worth it towards the end. When you can see your work, be it in painting, be it in carpentry, be it in music, be it in anything that catches your fancy, if you're willing to put out a little bit of time every week or every day, there are enough free and really good resources available online for you to really build your interest and even the community. You can follow me in Colors of Lazy at tumblr.com. That's my blog, and yeah, thank you.
Well, it's certainly changed the way I would look at things now. So some fantastic photography now. So next up, we got Andy Chapman. He's from a culture change agency, and he's going to talk about something very, very deep. So
well, I'm not sure about that. We'll see.
I will let him educate me then. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So you just put the video ready.
Okay. Right. Oops, how do I go back? That wasn't a good start, was it?
It's okay.
There we are. Good evening, everyone. I'm Andy Chapman. I'm co-founder of Change the Conversation. We're a cultural change and innovation agency. And I'd like to tell you a story tonight about the market economy, business, the state of the planet, and how we might make things better. These are kind of ideas which are sort of a bit of a work in progress, so I'd value your thoughts afterwards if you have them.
Perhaps the first line is like to take out the effort to understand.
Okay, so shall I do that?
Yeah.
There we go. So our story starts with the market economy itself. We're all part of it, and we know the obvious benefits it brings. It brings us a dazzling array of choice as consumers of goods and services, even in the most everyday circumstances. You want a coffee, sir? No, I want a skinny latte, super hot with extra bubbles and a side twist of cinnamon. Coming right up, sir. The intertwined forces of competition, human ingenuity and ambition mean that the market economy is also a phenomenal engine for innovation in products and services. The first eyeglasses were made in Italy in the 13th century, allowing the wearer to read hand-copied manuscripts. Roll forward a few hundred years and Google Glass allows us to record everything we see and do and share it with millions of others. It also creates performance incentives. In feudal times, if you were a member of the aristocracy, you had servants to do most things for you. If you weren't, you had a life that was nasty, brutish and short, no matter how hard you worked. The market economy allows for a greater alignment between personal capabilities, ambition, hard work and material rewards. And perhaps the most useful function that the market economy performs is as a mechanism for allocating productive resources through the trade of goods and services. The prices that attach to all trades serve as indicators of where there is excess demand or supply for something, and also what the relative values are that we collectively attach to different things. However, the market economy also has some serious flaws. One of them is what economists call externalities. These are byproducts of economic activity that are not adequately reflected in the price mechanism. Deforestation is one such thing. The value of the forest that's cut down to extract minerals, for example, is not reflected in the price that we pay as consumers for the products that result. Another externality is pollution. Most of us are horrified when we see pictures like this, and yet they're all too common in many parts of the world. For example, there are now huge patches of plastic waste floating around the Pacific and Atlantic Oceans, which have a detrimental effect on the marine environment. How do the costs of this pollution get factored into the prices for plastic bottles? They don't. Another seemingly inevitable characteristic of an unfettered market economy is a hugely unequal distribution of income and wealth in society. In the US, for example, the top 1% own 35% of the nation's wealth, and the top 20% own 85%. You can argue about the ethics of such a situation, but you can't argue that such inequalities add to social friction. And the real irony is that the rising levels of material affluence in recent decades don't seem to be making us much, if at all, any more content. This graph shows the growth of US GDP per capita versus the level of subjectively assessed happiness in the population, and I think it speaks for itself. And the malaise is visible in the business world too. The CIPD in the UK reported in a survey in February that only 35% of staff felt positively engaged with their work and with the values and purposes of the organisations they work for. In large organisations, the figure drops to 31%. And perhaps the greatest concern is the inherent instability of the market economy and the businesses that form a major part of it. The propensity of humanity to get caught up in speculative herd-like behaviour is well documented and has resulted in innumerable asset price bubbles and collapses, from the tulip fever in 17th century Holland to the collapse of Lehman Brothers in 2008. However, when all is said and done, the market economy is just a tool, a human invention for facilitating trade. In and of itself, I'd argue, it's neither good nor bad. So the problems with it must have their roots somewhere else. I'd like to suggest that one place to look is the lack of diversity in the values, viewpoints and policies of our global leaders. And with this homogenous view of what our policy priorities should be comes a kind of lazy, well, that's just how things are, that ends up as being a sort of half-hearted, shoulder-shrugging, apologetic defence of business as usual. And it denies the possibility of effective change or of finding a way of doing business differently that will give us a chance of tackling the deficiencies of the economy. I think that, I'm afraid you're deprived of my lovely chart, so I'll have to describe it to you. This is a chart which I've kind of invented myself, showing on the one axis what effect people have on a business and what effect business have on people. The point of it being that there are a number of stakeholders that have that are affected by business but have no influence on it. So I think we need a diverse business ecology. We need a greater diversity of views, experiences, talents, concerns and values to be involved in how our businesses are run than presently the case. We need business decisions to reflect many more things than just how will this affect our next quarter's earnings. And if someone says that they inevitably will, oh well, that's just naive, I think that it's important that we develop the habit of questioning and challenging the way things are, as a child might. Why does inventing and trading things mean that we have to ruin the natural systems that support us? Why is business only about what directors and shareholders want? And so on. While we're doing this, of course, we need to retain, if we can, the many things about the market economy that do work well. It is a highly effective way of organising trade that satisfies our material needs. It can serve as a powerful mechanism for allocating resources. it does allow for an individual to apply their drive, ingenuity and talents to amazing effect, and so on. In my view, a key ingredient to balancing these possibly competing ends is to make sure that all of the main stakeholders in business are afforded a real voice in the dialogue about what its purpose, objectives and ways of operating should be. We need to recapture the sense that in our individual choices and actions, we need to be aware and to take account of our wider impact on society and the world around us. So in a dialogue involving all the main stakeholders, what kind of issues might we want to discuss? These are three questions which I think it would be interesting to explore in such a conversation. It has to be alignment to my slides, actually.
It's my bad, that's the Mac.
Is it? Oh,
yes.
And finally, I'd like to end with a suggestion. Why don't we begin the process of democratising business and the market economy by requiring public companies to hold an annual public meeting that's open to all stakeholders and not just an annual general meeting for shareholders? Thanks very much for listening, and if you would like to talk to us more about these issues, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you very much.
It's my bad. So it's up to the first one.
Cool. So as you can see, my name is Mahdi, so thanks for coming down. So just to give a bit of background about myself, during the day I work in merchant acquisitions, and then during the night probably much more oriented around social entrepreneurship and a lot of charity work as well. So I've come to talk to you a little bit about the project I'm working on called Little Helpers, and essentially what I'm trying to do is build a platform for individuals and professionals to easily connect and discover volunteering opportunities with youth charities. And just to tell you a bit about how we actually came up with this idea itself, I'm not sure exactly. So just about the idea itself, about how it's conceived. A friend of mine works at the Challenge Network, which work with youth within 15 to 17-year-olds who have a high probability of being NEETs, so not in employment, education or training. And what I essentially did is ran a social apprentice competition where these groups chose a social issue in their area about what they wanted to do to really try and affect social change in their area, and basically pitched it, and we ran a workshop with them. And so we came up with this idea, we're like, right, let's see what we can do with this and see how we can help change the world. So we started to go about it in three different ways. So our strategy had 3 main points. The first one's about empowerment. So the idea is this platform is here to help empower you as an individual or professional, to give you a channel so that you can actually go, if you want to actually genuinely go help the next generation, you have a chance to go do that in your spare time. So whether that's running a presentation or running a workshop, that's what we're essentially aiming to do. The second piece about what our strategies look to do is actually really engage people. So one of the big things that I did when I was actually running these workshops is going to speak to my friends about how they can add value to these people and how they can really change and impact the lives of some of these young people going through this process. And for me, it's a very personal experience, it's a very personal thing. And so I think one of the big things in focus for me is actually making sure that what we do really engages people in a much more meaningful way. And obviously the result of this is that we really want to try and enlighten the next generation of guys who are coming through, and these are the young people who are coming into a world where things are pretty different now, and we need to make sure that we really give them the best chance of doing that. And so that's really why it's so important, because when you think about the economy at the moment, about the number of jobs that are around, especially in the UK and also all around Europe, the onus is on us to help make sure that the next generation have the same opportunities, or they're capable of getting those jobs, or in fact being the change makers that actually create these jobs. So creating the entrepreneurs of the next generation. And so we should be passing on our skills and our knowledge onto these guys. And so we're trying to do this by using the power of the network. So this platform will help you harness the power of the network. Now, a lot of you guys do work in business, and you all know how important relationships are. And if you think about the idea of the 6 degrees of separation, imagine if you just use that for a force for good. So you can actually go, actually, right, I know someone who can help these guys, and you help connect them up, and then you're really empowering change. So we're actually going to be using technology to really help us do this. And the reason being, the charities that we work with, essentially, they're cash-strapped and they're time-strapped. And so we want to use technology and to make the most of it, and essentially automate as much as we can, and do some really intelligent things. And by using the technology, we can make much more intelligent matching. So what you can try and find to do is actually, although you might be working with some really senior people and some really young people, there's actually a lot more similarities than you might think. And so we're using technology to help bridge that gap and really build intelligent matching through our platform. And so the way that we're going to try and do this is also linked into the idea about how we're making it so much more personal. So there's a huge amount of data about us all over the internet, and like we have some great speakers already talking about social media. So what we're trying to do is use more intelligently through APIs, which essentially allows you to take some information from, say, Facebook, and put it in another platform, and basically overlay the social information with our kind of database and platform. But rather than just do that, we want to try and take that information and really visualize it, so that you as a person really know the opportunities are really unique to you, and you really know how you can add value. So it's not just about, okay, these are my skill sets off LinkedIn. How about it's the skill sets on LinkedIn, but also, in fact, 10 of your friends support the charity as well, so it's a great one to get involved with. So working in the social enterprise scene for me is quite interesting, because sometimes you find some great social entrepreneurs who are so passionate about the idea they shy away from making it commercial. And the frustration is it doesn't make it sustainable. So one of the big things that I've done is basically think about the business model behind it, so we can always make sure that we've got a way to make sure this runs and so you can maximise the impact that you have. So the team that I'm working with at the moment, essentially everyone's full-time professionals. We've got professional designers, we've got user experience designers from big firms, digital project managers, and essentially we're all doing this by harnessing the power of passion. Because everyone here who wants to do this is spending their weekends, is spending their evenings plugging away at this project, and it's all driven by their passion and their love to make a difference. So what's the stage we're at the moment? So essentially we're mocking up and wireframing the site. So these are kind of wireframes about what it might look like. We've got the design, we're building the brand and the image, and we've got support from a hosting company who wants to support us completely on that. And essentially now we're looking to kind of keep building that out until we're ready to get some developers in, and that's about building it. So this is the kind of things that we're looking for at the moment. Essentially we're looking for awesome developers and coders, advice and support, and also just feedback as well. So we've already got essentially quite a large charity client who's basically waiting for us to give them the go that we can help them out. But with this, essentially we're looking for people who are really passionate about the cause rather than just have a skill set. And so that's where you guys come in. Essentially, you as a person know your network better than anyone else. You know the guys that are really into whether it's something social, or whether it's their skill sets and how they kind of think. And culture is really important for me, especially because the guys that I work with have such a great culture. It's really important we maintain that culture, that our end objective is to really enact change. And so if you guys know any people who actually are relevant to that, that would be perfect. So honestly, please do get in touch, because I'd love to hear from you, and we'd love to really see this project really go really far and try and make some real change in the world. So thank you for...
Good evening again. Okay. In the second half we're gonna have 4 more presentations, and just before that, I just wanna do some housekeeping stuff. Tracy, which is from Warwick Alumni, had kindly bring over some very good copy of the magazine there, and it's limited numbers in the reception. So if you not have one already, grab 1 copy, and they got some fantastic article inside. So just a note, if you have something to write or something to share around, that's a really good magazine to perhaps share your knowledge as well.
Can I have one of those?
Can you ask nicely? All right, I'll give it to you. Give it to you. Okay.
Please.
What gentleman? So to kick it off, we've got a really nice young gentleman that I wanted to introduce to you guys. I met Sean in Barking. It's one of the business staff seminars. And from the blue, he has a fantastic story about how you interact with local politicians, or the lack of it. So we're going to listen to his project, and we're going to find out a little bit more about his work as well. So can you just give a warm welcome to Sean?
Hi everyone. Just before I start my slide, I'm going to just pin this in very quickly. Since January, I've been working with about 22 young people in London to publish a book called Life at School. And so the book is basically going to be helping young people with their transition from any young people, any young person I should say, they're transitioning from primary school to secondary school. It's quite challenging sometimes when you move from primary school into a big, massive high school with lots of big boys and stuff like that. So do support it. If you want to come to the official book launch, we have some MPs and some councillors and some mayors coming to it. So do have a pick one up at the front later on. So anyway, putting that to one side. Okay. Right. Back to this. I met, like Casey said, I met him recently, a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me to come there. I said I would absolutely love to come and talk about my new film that I'm making. Other than an organization that I run, I make documentary film in my spare time. So this is the film that I've been filming for the past 7 months or so, and it's not even still finished yet. So today I'm not going to give you the finished article or piece. I'm just giving you kind of like a preview of it. Okay, so I have a question I want to ask you guys quickly, and I reckon about more than 25% of people, or young people especially under 25, but since you guys are not necessarily under 25, you're I reckon you're going to get this, you're going to struggle to answer this question. So the question is, how many of you here can put your hand up if you can name 3 local councillors in your area? You can name 2? You can, okay, 1, okay, 2 people. 1? You can name 1? Wow, okay, impressive. Right, okay, I want to show you, I want to play this video, share this video with you very quickly. Hey, how are you?
Good, thank you.
I'm awesome. Okay, how old are you, Shannon?
18.
Wow, cool.
Yeah.
Can you name 3 local councillors? Okay, well, she couldn't name 3 local councillors. That's a little faster than I thought. So you probably wonder why did I decide to do this? Well, I wanted to just to raise awareness about, you know, the lack of understanding between young people and local councillors. Councillors that actually make decisions that affect us indirectly and directly sometimes. And I personally have a confession. I've never casted a vote yet in my life, and I'm 23. But remember, just know that I did say yet, and I'll put that specifically in there yet. So you never know, I might decide tomorrow I want to run as a councillor myself, which I'm not thinking of doing yet. So, but that's that. Anyway, you guys can run as a councillor if you want. So I'm going to move on to the next video. I'm going to try and play that very quickly. Name me 3 councillors from Barking and Dagenham, please.
Councillors?
Yeah.
Councillors? What councillors as in what?
As in local councillors. Sorry? Okay, yep. Okay, and I think you can see from there, if you mix young people plus, you know, local politics, it's absolutely boring. They don't find it interesting at all. Even if you try to engage with young people, you know, talk to them about, you know, trying to have some sort of interesting conversation with them. Even kind of a lot of politicians that you see on television, I realize actually they absolutely don't have an interest in it. And so what I decided to do is got 2 of young people that I work with. You can see, you know, young people doing what they do best, messing around while we're in the corridor, waiting to say the camera. Basically, we decided to go and show some councillors the video, basically to show them and get these young people to interview them as well. And this is me in a room in one of the sort of like council buildings in Dagenham actually. And this is Councillor Graham Letchford. See, I nearly even didn't remember his name. I was showing him some of the clips that I've recorded, and then basically trying to get his opinion from it. And I guess the other question I was asking myself is, do young people see local politicians or mainstream politicians as role models? I'm not going to answer that question yet because you probably know what the answer is. The question is for you guys, do you see politicians as role models? No.
Yes.
Ouch. Okay. So clearly that's a no. And then also I then took the video I wrote a letter to another local councillor called Councillor George Barrett. And he's actually an independent councillor himself, and he was actually so honest and brutal in some of the interviews that we had. So I really can't wait to match this up together and actually share with everyone in the UK. And also the other question I was, other thing that came up with me is, are young people that study politics, are they the majority of people that are actually interested in politics? For me personally, at the moment, that's what it seems like. If you're not studying politics, the chances of you really being interested in it are very slim. So this is one of my favorite videos. I hope this won't play very long.
Can you name me 3 councillors from London Borough back in the day, then, please?
Are you serious? No. Margaret Hodge, man.
Margaret Hodge is an MP, by the way. No, a local councillor. Someone even said Boris Johnson was a local councillor. I mean, for more young people to be aware of their local councillor and to be really engaged, I think councillors themselves really need to make, more effort. And I don't mean, just typical boring stuff they do. They really need to make some really sweet effort. And also, local councillors, they need to have more presence and they need to be more prominent and really, do things. I know, they go and open buildings and do all stuff like that. That's okay, but to me personally, it's not good enough. They need to understand what young people are interested in and then try and get them on board. Because actually, I think young people have massive reinforcement, that councillors can benefit from. And also, councillors should be easily accessible to young people. And personally, one of the things why I actually decided to do this film is because I think councillors should be really role models to young people. If they can't be role models to young people at the local level, so what are the chances of being role models at the top level too, with the MPs or Boris Johnson or even the Prime Minister himself? I don't think a lot of young people find David Cameron as a role model. And so these are the 2 young people. Actually what we then did is, after they've interviewed the councillor, we then took the councillor themselves, get the councillors to shadow the young people. So they follow the young people around with the camera to live the life of a young person for a day. I would love to invite you one day when the film is ready to be launched. I don't know when that's going to be. Hopefully Casey's going to pass on the message to everyone at some point, but trust me, there's so much I haven't shared and it's a massive gem. You don't want to miss out on it. And I'm hoping it's going to go viral. Thank you.
One of our committee within the Warwick London Alumni, and she organised a really good event last time in April, talk about business in China. So tonight, she's going to talk about why learning a new language. Why? Winnie, can you tell me something more?
Yeah, sure, no problem. Hello, I'm Winnie, and I'm a founder of Chinese Field Finder, a company that helps UK businesses to get into China market through understanding the language, culture, and business. So, one day, a mouse saved his family by sorry.
Let's do it again. All right.
So I'll talk about the first
So
line.
once you start the first line, it will every 20 seconds. Whenever you're ready.
Okay, that's fine.
No pressure.
So one day, a mouse saved his family from a fierce cat, and then his neighbor asked him, "How did you do it?" "Wow, wow!" "It pays for learning a new language," he answered. So today, we are going to explore 3 reasons why learning a language is a good idea. It's all about you. And for sure it's about you, because you are the one who do all the hard work, you are the one who learn, you are the one who know the reason why. And learning a new language is about your motivation. And then I'll tell you something that you probably don't know about yourself. Researchers from UCL do a study about how brains work with different activities, and they found that with learning a language, it actually turns the grey matters in the brain, which is an area that processes information. And the other reason is about your career. With globalization, you may be assigned to work in a new country one day, while on the other hand, get your job outsourced the other day. So it's not only about stretching yourself, but also an urge to equip yourself in a rapidly changing environment. And language specialist recruitment agencies said that in jobs like sales, marketing, or technical support, language skills do contribute in salary increasement and also giving you new opportunity. And the third reason is about, in fact, it's about the relationship. This is kind of wrong. Well, I mean,
Blame the Mac.
Never mind. So if you think about relationship, you may think, well, in fact, some studies said that roughly 65% of our conversation is about gossiping. Well, according to men, they said it is exchanging information. But never mind. If you don't speak the local language where people use to gossip, then you are going to miss a lot. So you may say, well, we know some reason why learning a new language is a good idea. So may I challenge you in the next 3 minutes to learn a new language, and then I will go through it one by one, and then by the end of the evening you'll be able to master from 1 to 10. So 1 in Mandarin is yi, the easiest to start with. That's why 1 is yi. Yi. Can you repeat after me? Yi. Yeah, very good. So 1 in Mandarin is yi. And now is 2. So having Earl Grey tea for your afternoon tea with other friends. So tea for 2. That's why 2 in Mandarin is for Earl Grey. Repeat after me. For Earl Grey. Very good. You're getting there. And san is 3 in 3. And then why is that? Because sandwich has 3 layers. 2 layers of bread and with stuffing. So that's why san for sandwich, and 3 in Mandarin is san. San. Very good. And then si is 4. And then with an elder brother, elder sister, younger brother, and younger sister, that's why si for 4 siblings. Si. Yeah, so 4 in Mandarin is si. Okay, so the next one, we are halfway through almost, so don't worry about that. Now, wu is 5. In winter, we use wu glove to keep our 5 fingers warm. So that's why wu for wu. And 5 in Mandarin is wu. Wu. Very good. Repeat after me again. Wu. Very good. And then next one is 6. Liu is 6 in Mandarin. And you can see the Leo horoscope sign, and it kind of looks like 6, character 6, isn't it? So that's why Liu for Leo. And 6 in Mandarin is Liu. Very good. And T is 7. Imagine winning at the slot machine in casino. Cheers! So that's why T for cheers, and 7 in Mandarin is cheers. Tea. Alright, very good. And 8 in Mandarin is bar. So there was once a popular song in the 40s by the Andrews sisters called Beat Me Daddy, 8 to the bar. So that's why bar for bar, and 8 in Mandarin is bar. Bar. Very good. And 9 is 9. And remember how you study geometry in school, and there's always a 90-degree right angle in that subject. So that's why 9 for geometry. 9. So 9 in Mandarin is 9. Very good. 10, so the last one. 10 is 10 in Mandarin. So it's like you're not 100% sure about something. So sure. So that's why 10 for sure. And 10. See? Congratulations, it's quite a challenge. And now you know how to say 1 to 10 in Mandarin. So can anyone tell me what 8 is in Mandarin?
Ba.
Yeah, very good. How about 4?
C.
Yes, very good. So see, it's not too difficult to learn a language in 3 minutes. So to conclude, I will share with you a quote from Nelson Mandela. If you talk to a person in a language he understands, it goes to his head. If you talk to a person in his own language, it goes to his heart. So I hope you enjoy this presentation, and I'll be organizing a Dragon Boat event to raise funds for Oxfam, like 2 weeks later on a Saturday. So if you're interested, please let me know, and we'll have more about Chinese culture, Chinese food demonstration, and also a Mandarin taster class. Thank you.
Which is a big part of our life. So look forward to hear from John. Okay.
We live in a very sensitive planet. People talk a lot about the rivers, the forests, and the atmosphere for global warming. My focus is on the ocean. The oceans are a much neglected area connected with climate change, and the purpose of this presentation is to cover some of that area. James Lovelock talks about the Gaia theory. The Gaia is the interaction between the inorganic and the organic elements of the Earth system. For centuries have kept that system level and constant. It's now, because of the increase in CO2, which was supposed to be shown on this slide, it missed the translation, but in essence, if we carry on business as usual, we will hit 6 degrees, and that really is warm. We need to get on a trajectory, on a pathway down to 2 degrees, less than 2 degrees. What I'm depicting here, and I'm sure a lot of you know about it, is the greenhouse effect, where the energy coming in from the sun is absorbed by the Earth. Part of it goes out as infrared radiation, and part of it is captured by the greenhouse gas and returned back to the Earth. Now, where is all that energy stored? All that energy is stored not in the atmosphere, it's stored in the upper level of the tropical ocean zone. That energy has been accumulating for many, many decades, and it is that energy which drives the weather, it drives extreme weather events, it transports heat to the atmosphere, and the result, and also to the ocean. What this does, it shows what's called the oligotrophic zones, the ocean deserts, and those are increasing at a rate of 2 to 4% per year. And that's effectively lost productivity. People talk about the lost productivity of the deforestation, but losing the same productivity in the ocean is dire. The UK is leading in the area of science of geoengineering, where these different techniques for changing the climate, trying to stabilise the climate, are being judged for how expensive they are and how effective they are. And the Royal Society did this review. The prime candidate for a lot of political capital and economic capital is called carbon capture and store. That's a really, really difficult technology, but a huge amount of effort is going into it, and a lot of people think that effort is going to take too long and be too expensive. Other things they're trying: deforestation, reforesting, biochar, air carbon capture. These are all techniques which really are too slow. Getting reforestation takes many, many decades, and even then it's not a reliable way of mitigating the climate. It helps to look at where all that carbon is coming from. The vast majority of carbon is stored in the ocean, and the flux between the ocean and the atmosphere is much greater than the flux coming out from anthropogenic, from man-made sources. So our technology looks at this area here, it looks at this exchange, and it primarily looks at this carbon that's coming out of the ocean in the equatorial region. In the equatorial region, the carbon comes out, it goes into the atmosphere at high cold latitudes, right? The UK, it's absorbed into the cold water, and that's a continual cycle. And we look to intercept that emission of carbon before it comes out into the ocean. And you can see here on this graph, these are the very high areas of intense carbon emission, natural carbon emission. If we can reduce that, it has exactly the same effect as reducing the carbon dioxide from a chimney. So these are the areas that we're looking at. You can see these are areas where that carbon is being reabsorbed. Coincident with that high emission of natural emission of carbon, it's this very high solar energy intensity. So we're coupling, or we're proposing to couple that stranded energy, that energy which is warming up the planet. We're trying to harness that energy to put the carbon back into geological storage where it came from, as we pull out coal, as we pull out oil. And that's how we intend to do it. We tend to intercept at depth that carbon before it emits, and using that solar energy to do that. It's not a technique which is being talked about much. People don't talk about going to the oceans very much, but it's a far, far, far effective, more effective, decouples energy from emission. And effectively what we're doing is we're taking the sunshine, we're taking the seawater, we're extracting the CO2, we're putting it into geological storage and setting that as a carbon offset product. There's supposed to be another graph down here which shows when we're going to do it. But the other alternative, as we develop this technology, instead of just going from simple carbon storage, we can actually recycle that carbon into a new generation of hydrocarbon fuel. So you can carry on flying your airplanes, you can carry on driving your cars, because you're recycling the same carbon. Decoupling carbon emissions from power generation is a big thing. Because this exists in the tropical zones, this can share. We can share this deployment with emerging states, island states, coastal states that are themselves suffering from climate change and are going to be the worst hit by climate change. They can generate income by selling the offsets that are generated in their exclusive economic zone. We're looking to initially start with one country and then spread it to a number of other developing countries as partners with the UK. And then, as we're successful, we can expand to other developing countries, and then countries like the US, China, Japan, they can also come in and participate. There's a big price to pay for climate change, and there's a graph here that was going to tell you exactly how. Not only is it expensive in terms of the economics of it, it's also very expensive in terms of the extreme weather events which we're seeing in Europe today, we saw in America. Now, in my generation, in my time, we are going to be hit by climate change. In your generation, or the generation of most of you, that damage is going to be severe. I shudder to think, unless we get back on the pathway of 2 degrees, what it's going to be like for your children. Thank you very much.
Give a warm welcome.
Again, my name is Lawerence Campbell. I'm the young and naive sort of co-founder of Lunch Money. And I sort of wanted to thank you, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to talk about the possibility of what you could do with little budget or even no money, in my case. And I sort of warn you in advance, the slides are rather quite bright. Given the other slide we've seen, it's not intentional. I just like bright colors and sort of stuck with them. I'll start the slides. I suppose that did it start?
Yes, it starts. Yeah. So it will be every 20 seconds.
Oh.
Oh.
Because that's the first slide is the number one, right?
Yes.
How do you start the first slide?
So the first line, when you start, you have to click it, and afterward it will be every 20 seconds. Okay.
So what do I do now? Let's just click.
Yeah. So whenever you're ready, take this first line. Then it will be every 20 seconds.
Good.
Are you ready then?
No, it's fine. Don't worry.
Okay.
I get it now. Sorry, guys. This is bad.
Let's start again.
Let's start again.
Yes.
No, but again, I suppose that the title is a dead giveaway. Again, I decided to sort of go into the startup world. I still have my current job, but I had a problem which I thought I had, and I'm sure many other people had, and I decided to just go for it. But nonetheless, I had, I think, no money. But that didn't put me off. And something I wanted people to get away from this session is that if you don't go for it, or if you don't launch something, you would never know if it was going to be successful with the little money you have. You just simply have to go for it. I'm not saying hope for the best, but put your mind into it and anything is possible. And my idea was to simplify something. And the simplicity comes from Post-it notes. I love Post-it notes. You see them, you get them. You automatically know what to do with them. So when I come up with ideas, I try and think about a way whereby if I have to solve something, can I make it as simple as a Post-it note? And that thinking really helped me in terms of trying to manage the little money I had and come up with an idea that I can actually take to the market and present to somebody. The problem, I was simply tired of standing in a queue for 10 minutes, 15 minutes to get my favorite lunch. And I thought there had to be a better way. Why can't I do it online? So I can order my food, get it delivered in the office if I want to, or pick it up, or I can go in there and eat there if I wanted to. But there was nothing in the market for that. So I thought, let me do something. Lunch Money was born. And we basically make it easy for you to go online and order your food when you're in the office to get it delivered. And I believe many corporates can definitely give this to the employees to make it better for them. That while you're in the office, you've got so many things to do, nothing stops you from going online, placing your order, and just getting on with the rest of the thing you have to do for the rest of the day. How do we do it? Through a picture menu. We're fascinated by pictures. When you see your lunch, you go out, you view it before you actually eat it. So we've done that whereby, even as a group, you can place orders of within 200 to 500 people, and everything is actually done together to be delivered into the office in one go. How did it start? With £1,000 in my account. You might not believe it, but all I had was £1,000 when I decided to go for it. Was I crazy? Not necessarily. I was just optimistically sort of naive and blindly, again, optimistic. It's just one of those things. But the question I put forward is that if you don't go for it, you will never know if it was going to be successful with the little money you had. And I had £1,000. Hey, got to be all that. And I just did not see that I only had £1,000. But the best thing I did, and we should do it more often, we all have professional jobs that can actually benefit from this. I did a prototype. And ideas are great, but prototypes are fantastic because when you tell someone an idea, they might get scared about the magnitude of the amount of work that is needed. But with a prototype, yeah, 400, I thought it was a lot of money too, but it was good. They see it and they think, you know what, I can make it better. I can do this, I can do that. And that's the power of a prototype. And I was able to use the prototype to really demonstrate the potential of what I was trying to do with Lunch Money with my other co-founders. The moment they saw the prototype, they heard the idea, they were in. It was basically a 10-second conversation, and they were in. And without them, I won't be standing here today. And it's one of those fantastic things that it made it possible, a prototype. Nonetheless, even with them on board, there were so many things I had to do. You literally have to be everybody with no money. I literally had no money again. I had 600 now. I was secretary, I was PA, but it was fantastic because as human beings, when you put in a situation whereby you have to deliver, you learn so many things, you have so many hidden skills you just don't know you had. But I was glad I didn't have the money because I learned so many things, and nonetheless, even with the amount of skills I learned, there was still so much more to do. I had to come up with 4 portals. I had to do marketing. Maybe I'm crazy, not necessarily sort of optimistic, but the drive was there, and why was there a drive? I really wanted to make lunch fun. I wanted employers to provide something to the employees whereby you literally get your food and you can just take that break. I don't want to chew up. I can do other things. And again, they're not gangster. They're just very happy penguins. And that is what I wanted to do. That I wanted to make sure that lunch was fun and make it easy for the lunch to be delivered to you from excellent restaurants. And the surprising thing was this. Before I spent £1,000, Lunch Money was Lunch Money. We had the infrastructure, we had everything in place because we did not have to spend £1,000 to get to this level. And it's amazing because you would think I need so much money. But when you start doing it, you realize actually I can manage everything. But there'll be challenges. The challenges will make you want to tear your head down and think I cannot do this. But you carry on going. Why? Our challenge was very easy. The title gave it away. Money, cash, whatever you want to call it. That was our biggest challenge. And if I had money, there were many things I could have done quicker, but I'm glad I didn't have the money because it meant that we learned, we didn't make big mistakes. But the challenges we faced were easy to tackle. Why? Because of the highs. There were so many things that happened between me and my co-founders that it just felt amazing that I had 3 people that we were sharing this experience with. And Having 100 followers might not mean nothing to some people, but to us, it was like, oh my God, because we hadn't marketed nothing. We didn't have no money. And brings me to my next fear, marketing. I know marketing is important, but I'm a startup on a shoestring. I have no money. So how do I tackle marketing? So if there's anyone in here that has sort of friends that can give us free press or free marketing, hey, I'm not ashamed to ask for assistance, but that is one of the things about startup on the shoestring, that you know when to ask for help. But with all the fears, there's the fun. There's so many fun to have. Speaking to restaurants, signing corporates, the best thing is the chicken and egg. So you go to a corporate and say, listen, I've got these amazing ideas. Get your employees to use my site. And they say, oh, no, get the restaurants first. And then you go to the restaurants and the restaurants tell you, well, get the corporates first. And he's like, oh man, please, just sign. But we're in a very good situation whereby we actually do very well. We have both corporates and we have both restaurants. I've had to spend £1,000, more than that. But I believe that what we're trying to do is fantastic. And the little money I had, I was able to go in and simply just go for it. And there are many people in here that have ideas that's just sitting somewhere, behind the cupboard or whatever. Go for it, but you need that drive. Before you do anything, that drive has to be clear in your mind that I am doing this for a reason. Because when the money runs out, or you have, let's say, £10 left, and you're thinking, I have to pay for my server cost, that drive has to be there. And I'm glad that drive is still in me, because I want to simplify something to make it easy for you to get lunch and actually enjoy your lunch. And again, I think it's gone a lot quicker than I expected, but thank you. And obviously, that's what we do. We make it easy. And if there's any person in here that think that corporate can actually benefit from what we're trying to do, please speak to me, because I genuinely believe that every one of us in here, we have ideas that we can run with. And if you don't run with that idea because you think you don't have the money, that idea would never come to life. And it'd be a shame that that idea never becomes something that we get to find out about. So please go for your ideas with whatever energy and money you have. Thank you.